Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in our friend and pal Rob Cavestany of Death Angel. How are you doing, man?
I'm fine. How you doing, Keith?
I'm great, man. I've followed Death Angel like most of your career, most of my life. What a great time. We just celebrated together basically a record release show that actually happened on time in the time
Yeah,
of
right.
Corona. You guys
Totally.
played your official record release show and any show at the wonderful Fox Theater in Oakland. It was Death Angel, Exodus, and Testament headlining. It was sold out. The energy in there was unreal. What a phenomenal time. Obviously, we're going to talk about the brand new album, Bastard Tracks, but I really wanted to just first grab you and just continue this good vibe from the show Saturday. What an amazing time.
Yeah, I'm still buzzing from that show. Seriously, it's lasting that long. It was that good, and it was a long time coming. I mean, it was the longest time coming. There has never been a time that long coming since we did our first live show. I mean, 1,000 years ago. And there's been gaps of time when we're in the studio or one thing or another, but like literally no way have we gone this long without playing in front of people and feeling that kind of that vibe and the energy. And we did the Aftershock Festival in Sacramento a couple months back. And I mean we had a fun time, and no disrespect to anything about it. It's just it wasn't the same. I mean, we played early in the afternoon, open air, it's daylight out, and that's our first show in a year and a half. And it was just, it was kind of a weird, the disconnect with the crowd because it's kind of a big, it just was kind of tripped out. Like we all thought like that was cool, but I didn't really feel that. Oh, like it wasn't all the way. And so when this show was coming up, we were like, oh my God, we need that. Like we need to feel this tonight. Like this is 2 years of like, come on, please, man. And man, that show delivered. I mean, the music and the fans, the whole night, the energy, it was everything that we're hoping it was going to be. And yeah, it's a good buzz. It's lasting.
Yeah, man, I'm still like on cloud nine. I couldn't concentrate at work today. I was just like listening to the music, listening back to a bunch of music, and I was like, "Oh man, take me back already." I don't want to let go of that feeling. I had never been to the venue. It was pretty. It's a wonderful, old school. Like it's like
Yes,
almost an old theater. It's like very Art Deco with a lot of brass, phenomenal
beautiful.
acoustics. I thought the sound in there was really good. The mix was really good, which is unusual for like a thrash metal show. A lot of care and attention to detail went into it, and then you had like all the bands killed it. Exodus has a new record. Testament really didn't get to tour behind their new record, so it's kind of new to everybody else.
Oh
And
yeah.
they played like all the old school jams at the end, which made me super happy. So yeah, man, what a phenomenal time, and again, what a good time because it is. I think Chuck talked about it being like family. It's not just a bunch of bands on tour together. It's actually like you guys all came up together, know each other, ran around together back in the day, went to everybody else's shows. So it really did have that kind of really cool vibe that I don't think you get with a lot of shows.
Absolutely special. It's definitely rare and special that happens because even though we're all from the Bay Area, all the three bands that played that night, people assume that you're all out there, you just see each other all the time and hang out. But like we did back like when we were a lot younger, in the 80s and stuff when we were coming up and stuff. Yes, we were hanging out all the time, hanging out every Friday, Saturday. You see everyone every. But nowadays everyone's like in their own cycle of their band. So people are in the studio, they're on tour, they're getting to business, man. And there's not as much just hanging around everyone's show every weekend and stuff. So we literally run into each other mostly on tour. We'll like see each other in another country as we're on a festival together or something. We haven't seen each other for the whole year back home, but we run into each other in Spain or something. And it's an amazing feeling. It's exciting when you see it. Fuck yeah, you feel stoked. But yeah, that doesn't happen that often in our own hometown. Like, so this was like a real old school moment where all of us were together in one building, all of us playing like it was a local show back then in the 80s kind of thing, like on a Thursday night, like at one of the clubs when everyone's coming up and stuff. So had that like old feeling. And yeah, we're all, of course, we feel like family together. When you know people that long, even if you don't hang out on a daily basis, it's just the familiar faces and the vibes with the same people. You look in there, you look eye to eye, you just see the same old guy from back then. And it makes everyone feel warm and stoked. And the crowd, of course, too, are like pretty much half of them are our friends and family. So it kind of makes you a little more nervous because of that. because of the hometown crowd, you just get this weird. But yeah, man, it was incredible, and it all went off really well. Everyone had great sets, and like it was just everything went smooth. And on top of that, it was our first time to play the Fox Theater. So I've been to many shows there over the years, admiring the beautiful theater from the audience point of view, and going, man, hopefully one day we'll be on a show that plays here. So there you have it. Now that's like a big, check mark off your bucket list in your hometown, playing a nice theater that you always want to dream. You're dreaming of playing there someday. But that was also nice.
That's amazing, man. Checking off a major life achievement, as you should
Yeah.
enjoy that moment, man. It was wonderful, and just again, I probably I needed that so much. I feel like in Northern California we've been very lucky to get a lot of shows coming back because the state has been very aggressive about vaccinating people and having rules in place to try to protect everybody, regardless of your feelings on that. I know everybody is pandemicked out. I know, and
Of course.
I have been trying to take advantage of going to as many shows possible as I
Killer.
could. And, from little ones to big ones, sometimes I felt a little overwhelmed, like, oh, there's a lot of motherfuckers in here. But
Yeah.
not the other night. I thought the
Yeah.
Fox did a very nice job. And
They
they did
did.
a good job coming in and out. If you start feeling panicked, I don't live too far, so I can just jump in an Uber and go
That's
home.
great.
If I
Yeah,
feel bad,
I felt really good too. Different venues treat you differently. I mean, just depending on their vibe and their staff. And it was really wonderful to be treated so wonderfully and so welcomed by one of our hometown venues. Like literally, we rehearse 3 miles from the Fox Theater. I mean, we're just right there. It's like right in our backyard. So it felt really good. All the vibes were there. A lot of positive energy. It was rocking. And
right on.
then,
And
of all things, to begin a transition over where we're going to end up with the Bastard tracks. Speaking of venues that we have not played in our own hometown, kind of thing, and for you, since you've been living out here, but you came out here in a pandemic, so you couldn't really go everywhere and do. There was not everything wasn't happening during this time, and now it's starting to. So the show we just announced over the weekend, which is our next show, will be in San Francisco at the Great American Music Hall, which you need to, if you haven't been there, I don't know if you have, but it's a great venue to see a show at. And I thought we did, but apparently Death Angel never actually has played a live show at the Great American Music Hall. I have in other bands and done jams there, but like Death Angel never played there. And that's in our hometown, San Francisco, very premier, legendary venue there, the sister venue of Slim's, which we used to play all our Christmas shows. And that was our home for the last decade before they unfortunately had to close down. But fortunately, Great American Music Hall didn't close down. And now we're going to do our show there in January. And that is the place where we filmed and recorded the Bastard tracks with no audience. So
right,
we did play there, but with no audience. So we kind of don't consider
right.
we didn't really do a proper show at the Great American. So that's also coming on the bucket list and upcoming and connecting to the Bastard tracks.
Rob is so good at being interviewed. He just helped me with my segue, everybody.
That one presented itself. I
It
had to
just
roll with
presented
it.
itself. I like you that. I like that. Good job. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that first. The live stream, because you guys did choose an approach that a few other bands. It's like a very tempting to go out and play your hits, and a live stream medium is not very forgiving. And I feel like the technology is hard still for bands, both fans and bands. Sometimes there's problems, sometimes there's not. I watched that live stream and I was like so stoked to hear these like deep cuts and rare tracks and things, or maybe like the tracks that are not everybody's favorite, not the hits, if you will. But I thought it was a really great approach. And because again, it was like the first anybody had heard from you guys in a while. You guys were, of course, like everybody, you were over there when this thing struck, and it struck you all personally. And then you come back and you do this really cool, unique kind of show. And I think that was kind of like a thing I wanted to talk about, was like the uniqueness of picking the Bastard Tracks show set before it became an album.
Yeah. That was a cool thing, and I'd have to say, I give the credit to Ted. Ted was the one who pushed the initial idea. He brought it on, and so we had actually done one of those at Christmas time. So in December we did 2 nights. We did 2 different shows, 2 different sets. That was basically our annual Christmas shows. We do these shows in San Francisco. It would have been the 7th annual Another Death Angel Christmas show is what we call it. Every year it's Another Death Angel Christmas show. Even the first year was the first annual Another Death Angel Christmas show. You know, we borrowed this vibe from the Beatles. The Beatles would do this back then. They would play multiple nights around Christmas time and just do a residency, you know, in a smaller venue, and just we're like, that's cool, man. Like, you know, they just have a tradition. So we started doing it. It would have been the 7th year, and then we were thwarted by the pandemic. And we're like, fuck, we're gonna miss one, and the 7th one at that. That sucks. So the idea came up to do one of those things. We're like, it's not the same, but in the end of the day, we just embraced the idea because it was either that or nothing. So we're like, nothing is worse. Let's do something instead of nothing. And it gave us something to focus on and put out, you know, like kind of forget, feel a bit normal, like we're rehearsing for something. Like, so that happened. And so at least we did that the first time. So when we did the Bastard Tracks one, we kind of knew what to expect. Like, it wasn't as sterile to us or like weird playing in front of nobody and to cameras on stage in the venue. But so when Ted came up, you know, right after that, the Christmas show it was probably in January of this year, and he brought it up to me, and like my initial reaction was like, no, like I don't want to do one of those internet things again. Like, that was so, like, it was cool, but it's not that cool. You're like playing into the camera. It's like you're making a long video, or it's like, it's weird, dude. I'm like, you know, let's just wait it out. But it's like, we might be waiting a long time. Do we play, man? And it's like, we sat there and just went over it. We're like, all right, well, okay. So if it is, it's got to be unique or something else. It's not like, let's not just do like our set, but yet on the fucking computer. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how it came up. If it was Ted who brought it up, then he gets full credit. But I just can't remember. I may have brought it up, but we were talking about it, and it was the idea. Let's do fucking odd tracks, and then like, aha, and then Bastard Tracks. There you go, like deep cuts, Bastard Tracks. Let's do it. So then once we like decided on that, it became like a cool thing, because now it was like a different thing to focus on rather than just like, we're going to play a show, but there won't really be people there, you know. And doing it this way too, we weren't going to pick, like, normally our live show is constructed, the set list has, you know, you're taking into consideration what the audience is going to be doing. It's not just like, oh, what do we feel like playing? It's like, where are we playing? What audience is it here? It changes depending on different territories, or we kind of know how that kind of crowd is, or who's on the bill. Like, if we're with like really heavier bands, we'll lean towards a more brutal set. If we're playing with a lot more lighter or musical bands, we'll try to make the set a little more diverse in that direction or something. We have a lot of different kind of styles we could throw in. So in this case, it was like, maybe let's do the less songs that incites a riotous behavior, thrashing and fucking total violent, you know, stage diving, and do more of the musical things. And then throw in a couple of wild thrash bones, just so that, you know, we got to keep it uppity. So that's how the set got constructed. And I basically told each band member to send me a list. Each guy emailed me a list of their Bastard Tracks that they would like to play out of our catalog. So then I got this whole list from everybody. It's like a lot of songs. Then I just try to line some up. I'm like, okay, 3 guys like this song, you know, and I do too, and then this and that. And then it was like, then that might work, that maybe not. And by the end of it, we had enough for 2 sets. I still couldn't narrow it down any smaller than volume 1 and volume 2. And for a minute there, that was an idea. And then we just were like, let's not get like too crazy self-indulgent. It's going to be like 2 entire like oddities, 2 albums of like, it's too much. Like, you have to be like the Uber fan to get that. Otherwise it's like, well, what am I hearing here? Like, this doesn't even sound like it's. So we narrowed it down then into one, which I feel was the better idea. So they were the best of the choices of how they came across. And we rehearsed, we tried. There were songs that we played, and then after rehearsing, it was just like, in theory, that seems like a good idea, but I don't know. It just doesn't come across. Like, let's try something else. So we spent some time in the song selection and the sequencing. Like, we definitely got into it, man. It was fun.
That's awesome. You can hear it actually when you hear the album back now. You hear the thought that went into this, the care that went into this. Obviously, people know Lord of Hate and they know why you do this and things like that. But I really and the organization, of course, the has a history with the band. But I think like Execution and Succubus, and then some of the unplugged stuff blew my mind because it doesn't even sound like it's so good. But it also is like, is that the same band? I don't even hear Mark. Is that Mark? Like I couldn't even
Mm,
tell. Like Faded Remains and Volcanic and things like that are so special sounding on this recording, man. It's almost like, is it really live? Because like it seemed like so great, like so flawlessly, performed.
thanks so much. It is, man. The broadcast of it wasn't live. The timing of when it broadcast, but the main reason for that is because doing our research and watching other people's broadcasts on their streams, their live streams, we saw too many times where there was technical difficulties in the middle of the thing and it fucked up. Like you're rocking out, it's your moment. People are having parties, like they got people over, like hanging out, drinking and watching the thing that's frozen, and like 20 minutes is going by, then it comes on. It's like, no way, dude. We don't want to fuck with that. Like we want it to come across and flow and without any interruption. So there's only one way to control that, and that's to control the fucking production situation. But
I like
yes,
it.
we fucking rehearsed our asses off so that we would play it fucking good, like and like and yeah, we took it like it was awesome because not only did it result in having this product and what happened for the entertainment purposes and everything, but like it gave us like total purpose. We like once we like committed to it, we just like went into this odd like bubble of like fucking focus, like our lives depended on making these bastard tracks come out right and not us looking stupid like trying to pick a bunch of weird songs and then not even doing them so good, and then people just going, why do you even do that, man? Stick to your fucking normal songs. Like that was all right, but whatever. Like it's got to be good. Like we need to be tight as fuck. So like we went deep into getting into it, so it was nice because it served another purpose whereby it gave us an escape from the pandemic blues, man. And all of a sudden I think we kind of would find ourselves like escaping into it, like oh shit, I gotta practice now, and then you just could like valid reason to check out of this world and just go in there, and it was great. And when we'd rehearse, it would be the only time where things felt normal. You'd be in there for hours just sweating and paying attention to like music and trying to tighten things, and god damn, you needed that mental break from all the shit that was happening in that time. So it's really fucking cool because in another way too, that all that energy, all that weird energy, like hopeful energy, frustrated energy, like confused at what's happening to our world energy, was going into that, like, and you can't reproduce it. So I'm stoked that we captured it and now it's like available for like release. And someday you'll when we look back on that, like, remember that time when we were doing that, like that was unlike any other, man. We were like floating in a weird dimension, and in our headspaces everyone was just trying to, like, you couldn't even go to the store or go to the restaurant. Like, it was so weird, and we were working on music so hard, like it was the only thing to do to seem real. And there you go, it happened.
There it is, right on. Obviously it goes without saying. I see a lot of you guys around town at other shows and stuff, but I don't want to take it for granted. I do hope that like your family, your friends, everybody that's with the band and outside of the band, that everybody made it through okay. Obviously, we know what happened to Will, and your
Yeah.
assorted tour mates in Exodus and Testament were not exempted from illness, also. But hopefully, since then, you guys have been solid. Obviously, the whole music business took a hit on the chin, also, but
Hell
it's good.
yeah.
It's good that you guys persevered, and I do hope that everybody now is okay, or
Thank
has
you
stayed
very
okay.
much. I'd say overall, yes. Overall, we were this. It's not over yet, but it's kind of, that's kind of like how this show, that what the show was on Saturday. It's like at the end of the year, after all this is going on, now everyone's kind of probably looking to 2022 in a hopeful, optimistic way, and we're trying to bring some positive energy and like look like, it's been a long time, so like fucking maybe we can start getting to it. And like, yeah, so all this energy got got fucking expelled and all that stuff, and we like it's there, and it's in that, and now we're moving forth, and glad to have that artifact that we will always be able to look back on and go, whoa, look at us. Like, what are we thinking right then? Like, we were like, oh, with the masks and all the testing and all that day just to film that shit. We were like getting, you had to get tested to be in that bubble of to be in there filming it and creating all the people working is very strange sci-fi like reality. But then
Yes,
it also gives a lot of emotion and vibe, which the weird thing is that music and art and entertainment and stuff, like it feeds off of that kind of energy as well. It's not always a happy-go-lucky kind of energy. So like sometimes some of this shit, like the anguish and the weird shit, like it comes out into music, and people share their emotion through music. And that's kind of like a big deal for us, where we're really vibey cats with our music and our vibe. So all of this heavy vibe does suit our style of of what we do. We're used to
indeed.
that heavy vibe thing.
Indeed. And shout out to all the venue staff. I thanked everybody I could talk to, and ushers and merch people and beer servers and
Hell
everybody. I was like,
yeah.
yeah, welcome back. Thank you for being here. Thanks for checking me in. Thanks for taking my ticket. Thanks for here's $1. Here's a tip at the beer, stand. Please, please and thank you. Thank everybody, because these are unsung heroes who thankfully have their jobs back because they also had no work. I walked by the Fox a while ago, and it was desolate. As you know, Telegraph can be desolate in Oakland, and it was wonderful to see it all lit up and open and clean
Hell
and
yeah.
fresh and not
Hell
like
yeah.
looking bummed out. So I was happy, and
Totally.
I know you were too. Just to delve a little bit more on the album before I lose the script completely. I was wondering if any of these tracks, you and Ted are phenomenal guitar players, man. Like, I don't know if people really are aware of how skilled you guys are, but like, I was wondering if bringing out some of the, maybe somebody else picked a song you weren't too familiar with anymore and you had to relearn. Did you have to relearn or almost, really grill yourself to get some of these right?
My God, yes. The phase one was picking the songs, then phase two was homework. Homework. In this room that I'm in right now, I was up in here like listening to mute, like dissecting, trying to you know decipher the hieroglyphics of what was created many moons ago, and what you literally like let go of in your mind when you don't, it's not in the set and stuff, and you move on and on and on and on. So, and I and for me in particular, it's really challenging. Like my the space that I can hold for memorizing all of my parts of what I'm able to perform in a live situation, I wish was bigger. But like I need to focus on like a certain body of work for that tour or that like event, and focus hard. And I can't be dealing with like all kinds of other things in the process. I just need to focus and focus. Other people I see, just I'm jealous where I just see that, oh, that song. Oh wait, that one. I haven't played that in 45 years. And there's like, I'm like, Ted's kind of like that. He's like, oh dude, he's playing riffs at me, my riffs. But he's like, oh, you don't remember that? You wrote that riff, dude. It goes like this. I'm like, well, fuck. It's been decades, dude. He's like, well, it goes like that. But so yeah, for me, it takes a minute. I need to do a lot of listening. So first listening and listening until the songs are like very familiar. You're feeling all the whole flow, all the parts, everything. It's like coming back to you, all the little thing. Then deciphering, and some of that sounds kind of crazy because some of our earlier records aren't quite produced so clear, like the earlier shit where it's just really raw and kind of muddy, and we're not playing to any kind of click track. Like we're speeding up and slowing down, and literally there are imperfections that are all over it, which make it have the vibe. Definitely it's giving it that raw youthful street fucking vibe. But when you're trying to like listen to it to pick out every single note of a very fast song, and there's fast parts, and when it's not recorded very precisely, it's murder trying to hear those notes. I'm like, the fuck are we playing? And like probably one guy's like probably kind of out of tune and a little bit, and like I'm like, I can't even hear. So yeah, that was a project in of itself, and trying to come together. And then Ted and I would come together and go, okay, I'm pretty sure this is what's going on. and there may even be parts that we're just having to like create on the spot because we're not exactly sure of those two notes right there. So it sounds good right here. So that's what we're gonna do. And so it's kind of fun because you got to kind of reinvent moments, and we're not trying to exactly, there's no rule that we're trying to exactly recreate the total sound of a 1987 fucking thing. Like, so yeah, we're like, how can we do this but make it be like us now? So it's kind of weird because you're trying to practice along to the CD, then we go to rehearsal and we're playing it way more solid at rehearsal. Like we're playing it more like powerfully, and like the parts are like even, and like we're making our changes more deliberate, and we're trying to work that out. Like with parts that sound a little like out of focus, we're trying to put them in focus so they'll be very tight and deliberate. So there was a crafting that went on, and a learning, a crafting, and a kind of a kind of reinventing certain parts of songs and stuff to make it fit us now and just sound overall better. And but that was fun. That also was fun. We had fun, kind of making new out of old and laughing at stuff that where we were just like, what that part's fucking crazy. What let's not do that. We'll do it like this. And yeah, then we got it to a point. And the cool thing is we've also been rehearsing most of these songs since then, even though we haven't had a reason to play them, but we just have the idea that we want to play them eventually, and we don't want to just lose, like after half a year goes by, then it's gonna happen, it's gonna go in the back of your brain again, and we can't. Right now we're tight playing that shit, so that gives us a whole nother arsenal of songs to incorporate into our set that we haven't had for many years. It's fucking cool.
That's awesome. It sounds like the University of Death Angel Guitar School. I love it. I just have a couple more for you, man. I want to give you back your evening. Obviously, this first show that we just lived through that was wonderful was meant to be part of the Bay Strikes Back tour. We are now going to get that tour, fingers crossed, rebooked for the spring. I saw the dates. New dates are being added, I think,
Yep.
because of popular demand. Shout out.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's going to be so exciting for you guys to do that on the road, because I think we've been starving for that tour in particular. Of all the ones that were, could not have happened and will now happen, I think we were dying for a tour like that. I called everybody I knew, or texted and messaged everyone on Sunday. It was like, do not mess up. Go to this tour in April and May and June. Please go.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
We were dying too, man. That tour was supposed to happen already. Like it would have been done, but it was postponed, and we were ready. Like we readied ourselves with many rehearsals, and like we were like ready to go, man. And literally a week from I mean, it was really close to the end, to the actual kickoff date, where it was 100% called off and pushed into what feels like 1,000 years from now. And we were like, oh God, like it really, like there was like a wave of a dark, there was a bit of a depression that came over us for a second there, of us trying to accept the fact that, because it takes a minute to gear up to leave home for 6 weeks, whatever, and you got 35 shows in front of you. You got to prepare mentally and at home. Like you got to prepare, sort your life situations for that to happen, rehearsing and then like when it just gets pulled out and it's almost been 2 years, you're like, whoa, we can't take any more of those, man. That's what I mean. When this show on Saturday, I was like, dude, nothing better derail that show, man. We're gonna have like something. It's gonna go bad for us. We won't be able to handle it. Like mentally, we were so stoked. So yeah, we're ready. We will keep ready for that tour.
Awesome. Yeah, I know it's going to go off without a hitch. I'm sure we'll get it back. We're getting it back slowly. I'm hopeful, hopefully optimistic, and obviously we all need our medicine. These riffs are giving us life, and yeah, I can't say enough good things. Testament is about like 1 second away from doing like an Iron Maiden with that stage. That stage
Totally
setup is crazy, and
crazy.
and again, all three bands just absolutely killed, and these records are phenomenal. And I'm looking forward to a new Death Angel album. Hopefully, I know Mark kind of teased that maybe there's some, you guys are working on some stuff. So hopefully, not too far in the future, we'll get a new Death Angel joint out.
I just literally 5 minutes before getting on this call with you, I was on the phone And I was like, we need to hurry up. I'm getting on. I'm in 5 minutes. I'm online, dude, doing an interview. Let's wrap this up. And we literally, I just sealed the deal on getting a bunch of new recording equipment. So a, a fine investment has been made in our future. And so my plateau was like to get through this show on Saturday. We were just focusing on our set and just like all kinds of shit and releasing the record. There was a lot of press about the Bastard Tracks release and Thanksgiving and all that stuff was going on. So we are like, once that show passes, we're jumping into the full force, like, let's get to work on the next album vibe. So now that's like happening. We have entered that chapter. Why am I not writing right this very second? But that's okay.
We're almost done, so I'll let you get back to it.
No, it's all good.
Just for a last question, just because I thought it would be a good idea to get, I had to get a hold of you
Yeah.
and run this by you. We're coming up on a pretty momentous occasion for the scene, or at least the original scene, which is that Metallica is going to celebrate 40 years, a 40th
They are.
anniversary in 3 weeks from this time of our chat. And you also started a band as a youth almost 40 years ago. This band, it's incredible, even
Yes.
with the ups and downs and tragedies and triumphs you have lived through. But I just wanted to get you to, like, first of all, amazing that Metallica can make it to 40 and celebrate in such a fashion where they kind of
Incredible.
take over the whole city for a week, basically, with shows
Fuck
and
yeah.
events and a film festival and all that. I'm going to try to catch some of that stuff. But just I wanted to see if you didn't mind reflecting a little bit on, look at this history, this rich history, and not just Death Angel and Metallica, but all these bands in the Bay Area that really put this type of music on the map in America. And that's the thing I think doesn't often get talked about. Not just the scene that was local here that was really special that people
Right.
still talk about, but also like really invented this music.
It's amazing. It's like a dream. Like it really is. It's not something that you, even when you're young and starting off and you're dreaming to play shows and do this shit, you're all inspired. You have nothing but your little band and you're trying to get a local show, but we all have the same dream, try to get as big as possible and play some concerts and travel and play shows. And the fact that it all turned out that way for us and our friends in Testament, Exodus, Forbidden, the list goes on in the Bay Area, and and those guys Metallica, um, who definitely paved the path, like fucking the heroes in the front on the front line, making it obviously easier and more possible for other bands coming up behind them to get somewhere with their music and you know international recognition and turning pro, if you will, with your local band with this kind of extreme music. It may not seem so extreme now, but back then it seemed very unlikely that would like really get as big as that. There's an underground movement, and it's just insane. It's insane. And whenever I am asked to, when I talk about these times or people ask questions about back then or how was it like, was it really like what it seems like? Was it like amazing that way with the shows all every week and everyone supporting each other in like that era of time? And yes, it absolutely was. It was. You didn't know it in the moment. You were just having fucking fun as a teenager. Like, and for us, we're really young. We're like the youngest of the young back then. So we're like the really young teenagers, like latching on and getting mentored by all these guys. And that alone was giving us the energy and like the power. Like we're like, these guys were kind of take us under their wing and let us open up for them and help us out with any stupid questions we'd have about gear or whatever. And they inspired us. We just try to do our best and have as much fun and try to hang with all those guys. And decades later, we're all still making fucking relevant music and playing killer shows and remaining good friends. And the scene exists, even though like rock is, not the flavor of the month, but they still can't kill rock and roll. So here we
Right
are,
on.
and we're ready to, have a very refreshing rebirth into 2022 because there's a lot of energy coming from all these bands because we've been pent up. So let's see if we can explode on the music world a little bit here.
Word. Pent up and pumped up with Rob Cavestany. Thank you so much for hanging out with Ghost Cult, man. I really appreciate you. Hopefully next time when it's safe, we can do this with a beer in person like I used to do.
Hell
And
yeah.
I'll definitely see you at that show in January. We're gonna link everything in the description. Hopefully, everybody packs that place out for you. Thanks so
That'll be
much.
great. That'll be great. Thanks for having me.